Igor, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I am so glad that you're here with me.
Thank you for having me. It really is a pleasure.
It's awesome. I would love for you to just do a quick little introduction as to who you are and even take it back a little bit to when you started wedding photography, or however you want to go about it is good with me.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Igor Demba. I'm a destination wedding photographer. I'm based in the UK, and I've been shooting weddings for 13, 14 years now.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I started shooting when I came from uni. And yeah, went to uni in the UK, even though I'm Portuguese,
Yeah.
and travel all over Europe with my parents because they used to be missionaries. So
Is
they used
it?
to, yeah, they used to drag me and my sister along to all their missionary work, handing Bibles, handing clothes, and whatever sort of humanitarian work they could get their hands on. And eventually was settled in the UK. And yeah, went to study graphic design. And that's where my passion for wedding photography very much came. I started creating photos for my graphic design work.
Right.
And yeah, fell in love with photography, started doing street photography and very much approaching strangers in the
Mm.
street. And hey, I really like your hat and your coat looks really cool. Can I take a photo of you? And yeah, that work started being caught by my friends and and magazines and stuff like that. And a friend asked me if I wanted to capture her wedding, and I said, "Yeah, why not? I'm a student.
So
I'm
good.
poor."
Yeah, I mean, that's how it starts. A friend always asking. We're so grateful
Yeah.
to all the friends out there,
Thank
right?
you, Maddie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Literally, we are grateful for those friends. And yeah, I shot that one wedding and I absolutely loved it. But I wasn't sort of like caught with the bug of wedding photography initially. It was only until I sort of got engaged with my wife, Zion,
Yeah.
that I started looking at other wedding photographers here in the UK, in the US, in Europe, and very much realized that everyone had, at least the ones that I gravitated towards, they had a very unique style about them.
Mm.
And I love that about it. I love the fact that you can be a photographer and not just simply a photographer, but very much an artist. You have a voice, you have an identity that you can very much transmit to others through your work, and to actually be paid to actually create that work, that's a whole other
Yeah.
bonus.
Yeah. I mean, even in the beginning, I don't know how it was for you, but when I heard my husband was a photographer, well, he still is, but I know wedding photography through him. And when he first, started and he told me, oh, he got 500 euros for doing a wedding. I was like, 500 in a day? That's amazing.
500, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Us
Let's
poor
throw a
students are
party.
like, we don't know that kind of money.
That's it. That was exactly it. £500 for me. What that was incredible.
Yeah, I hear you. So go ahead.
No, and yeah, seeing those photographers very much made me realize that wow, you can do this and you can do it well and having your own voice. So I very much rustled up that one portfolio that I had with that one wedding,
Yeah.
created this physical booklet. I used to work at the library. I used to be one of those people that people would come to the library and, hey, can you print out this for me and can you bind it and can you do this?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I would get all the free credits and all the prints and high gloss prints and everything else. But with that, it meant that I could also create a little portfolio book. And
Sure.
with that tiny portfolio book, I would hound friends and ask them, hey, can I shoot you? Can you guys are getting engaged? Have you got a photographer yet? And yeah, things very much snowballed from there, really. You you
Yeah.
start. Yeah, that's it. That's
I
it.
mean, I love the fact that you said, because I feel like I don't hear it often, that you didn't get that wedding bug feeling right away, that it kind of
No.
threw on you. And I can relate to that because I feel like it was a journey for me. It's just kind of like I got into wedding photography in a way to kind of escape even the 9 to 5 working life, and joining my husband and just wanting to be like self-employed. It was just kind of that. And it took me a minute to kind of feel like I was developing a passion for it. So
Yeah.
it's nice to hear that there are other people out there who
Yes,
feel
definitely, definitely.
similarly. And yeah, also like I guess I always had this idea of what wedding photography is. I think most of us that did break away where we saw, oh, there is a better way of doing it. And there are people out there shooting in such incredible ways. Like once I discovered that, I feel like my whole view changed,
Yeah, yeah,
where it could
100%.
be more.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I find that it's, especially being in the industry today, it's really important to constantly keep that alive, keep the whole idea of showing people that this is possible and it's possible to do it as a living and you can do it well. And sky is only the limit, really. And being black myself as well, it means that I would love to see more of that representation within the industry. People looking
Yes.
like me coming into the industry and realizing that, oh, you can really do it and be successful at it. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. I love it. So, like, take me back to those first weddings. Can you actually look at your photos from those first weddings and be proud of them, or are you cringing like I am? How do you feel?
A bit of both, a bit of both. I'm cringing, but at the same time, I'm rather proud of the fact that, hey, I
You
started
did
somewhere.
it.
And yeah, yeah, definitely. And I need to dig those out, to be fair. But I do remember my first session, and I'm
Mhm.
really proud of it. And it's still, I'm pretty sure it's still on my website. My first session I did was in Southampton. It was from a couple from my church there. And I just remember scouring through Sean Flanagan's work and
Oh,
and
so
just
good.
and just literally trying to draw as much as inspiration as possible. My images look nothing like it.
I love how you went and said, Sean Flanagan. Yes, I'm going to look at him for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because
Yeah.
he's got this ability of shooting things very freely. It
Yeah.
almost looks careless, but it's really beautiful and it's really, yeah, just really free. That's the best way of describing it, really. And yeah, I remember that was one of my first inspirations for that session, and we had so much fun. Literally, I'm rather proud at the fact that I was able to produce that sort of level of work at that stage. Yeah, you made me think now. Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
good. I mean, if
yeah,
it's still on your website, I will dig it out. If not, if you
yes,
want to provide us with an image or two
yes.
for the show notes, that would be
I definitely
amazing
will.
because
I
we want to
definitely
see.
will.
We want to see like where it all started. That's so
Yeah.
good. Now, we're here to talk about editing. And so I want to take it back to like how it was for you editing in the beginning? Like, were you fumbling across? Did you already like, how did that start for you? How did the process evolve? Talk us through it.
Um, Yes, especially being a graphic designer, I love to analyze things. So I would look at photographers' work and very much think, how did he get that? Not just simply with the poses and how the couple was interacting with each other. I would try to break that down as well, but in terms of the actual editing itself,
Yeah.
what are the colors doing here? Look at those skin tones. The
Mm,
highlights, they seem to have a very specific blue hue to
cute.
them. And it's those sort of things that are very much absolutely loved to break down, really. And yeah, so it was a case of very much study, and try to very much, and I openly say, very much try to copy and emulate and see what those photographers were doing. So in those days, I try to learn as much as possible. That's
Hmm.
it. Try to learn as much as possible. I bought heaps of presets, especially from the people that I really enjoy their work of how how they achieve skin tones, how they would capture a landscape, eliminating distractions,
Yeah.
all those sort of things. I would really hone into just trying to find out how people did it because I wanted it for myself, really. So yeah, I guess you could say my work is very much an amalgamation of all those creators, really. And I love that. I really love that. I love the fact that you are able to still have your own voice,
It's true.
and even though you look through inspirations elsewhere. And that's crucial, really. I find that within our industry we don't do that enough, in the sense of it's very easy to look at another photographer's work and very much think like, "Ah, I wish my work was like that, rather than actually breaking it down. Why do I like it? What is
What
this doing here?
exactly? Yeah.
What are the shadows doing there? Or I really, really like those skin tones. How did they achieve that? And very much celebrate that and try to understand it for yourself. I find that by doing that, we will constantly be raising the bar for the industry, really, because there is so much talent out there. There is so
There
much
is
talent
a
out there.
lot of talent, and every time I discover new talent, I'm like, where have you been hiding? And it just shows me like, it's me. Like I just haven't discovered them, but like I love the versatility in it. And it's worldwide, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
like I'm amazed, for example, the photographers out of Brazil, for example, and stuff. Like
Mm,
I love what they're doing. And it just leads me to think how many more out there we haven't really for ourselves discovered yet. And we can learn from each other. I love how you said, like, I mean, it's absolutely normal to copy in the beginning. Like we should, we shouldn't feel too bad about it, because that's the process of learning, isn't it? It's just kind of
100%.
seeing. And but the point is growing from it and putting your own into it and seeing from a variety of people. I think if people get stuck to just learning from one person and just one repeating that, that's not helping anyone. But the
Yeah,
fact that,
totally.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you did
And
that. Like,
there's this really, really good documentary that very much changed my whole perspective on it. In fact, there's two items really. A documentary and a book really, but there's this documentary called Everything is a Remix,
yes, I know
and
about that. I haven't watched it, but yes.
it's incredible, and it's had its variations over the years, so it's just been updated with new examples of people within different industries, music, art, sculpturing, whatever you want to, films, and how those artists are very much at the beginning of their career, and even now are
Yeah.
very much copying certain things. I'll grab this, I'll grab that, I'll grab that, I'll grab
Yeah.
this, combine it, and then transform it into something that is completely unique and completely different. Still having those inspirations in mind in some ways, but I guess a perfect example of that is Quentin Tarantino. But he blatantly copies. he,
Yeah.
he blatantly copies. He will take a whole scene, the way people are walking, the framing, the composition, and just include that tiny one scene that are from, let's say, the 80s in his one new movie. And yeah,
I
but
didn't
the whole
know
of
it was to
the
that point. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
he is like that. There's so many YouTube videos on Quentin Tarantino and his sort of
Mm.
like method of creating, because he is a genius at that. He is a genius at amalgamation and putting things together. So yeah, that's the one example really, and then the other one is Steal Your Work by Austin Kleon.
Yeah.
He's incredible as well.
Love it. I have his
Um,
books right there, and I love to refer to it. And I think he was one of the first introductions I had to the fact that, like, there's a way of stealing like an artist. It's so good.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, still like an artist, that's it. Still like an artist, that's it.
Yeah.
Rather than I was combining two of his books.
You're good.
Still
You're
like
good.
an artist and Show Your Work. Those are
Yes. You're perfect. I have both. I know what you meant. So
but
good.
yes, it's super important. It's super important to know those things. Know what's around you. Know what people within the industry are doing and celebrate that really. But at the same time, have a pulse on things outside of our industry. Have a pulse on the things that you're very much passionate about. Because if you're passionate about, I don't know, about music or something like that, or passionate about movies, TV series, very much try to communicate that within your work, because that's the way that you will really attract the people that gravitate towards the same things as you. And in some ways, when they see your work, they'll be like, oh yeah, I get this, I like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super crucial. It's a good, you got to have a good balance, isn't it?
It's true. And I mean, that's how you bring some freshness into it. But like, yeah, sticking to that topic for a little bit, because you said you did graphic design. I want to, in case you haven't watched it, there's this guy called, I think it's Chris Do. part of the future. Like I know him from
Yes, part of the
YouTube.
Future brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I love a lot of his content, and I just watched this interview. That's why I was on this topic, and yeah, just how also how he learned graphic design. He was talking about how he literally used to take tracing paper and trace over like logos and stuff. Do you know what I mean? That was like
Yes,
how it
completely.
began. And it really showed me, yes, I mean, that's how we learn language. I have two little kids. My little daughter, she's 3, and she literally is copying her brother who's 6 all day long these days. That's
Yeah,
all she does. And I've seen like it's her process of learning, you know? And so I just don't want us to demonize that as long as we're not plagiarizing people and
exactly.
bringing in our unique perspective just to put it out there. So, yeah,
Exactly.
this,
You've got to be original about it. You have
yeah,
to, because that's the danger of it in some ways. People hear, yes, copy, combine things and transform them, and people just simply stop on the first on the first point copying. And yeah, that's a big no-no, basically.
yeah. So now let's talk about presets because I am a fan of presets, but also there's this whole thing of sometimes you can notice that like photographers bought maybe the same preset. I know you're selling presets, we're not demonizing, we're just talking about it, you know,
Mhm.
where you know, sometimes it might feel like there's some sort of sameness coming in
Yeah.
where people are kind of using the same kind of tones and way. Um, can you speak to that? What are your thoughts on that? I know it took you a while to come out with your presets. We'll be
Yeah.
digging into that, but share your thoughts. I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, you're completely right there. It took me a really long time to get my presets out, and in some ways, I've had them for a very long while. Even prep to sort of like to release, probably for like 2 years.
Amazing.
Um, during just before the pandemic, really. But it's the whole idea of teaching someone to fish rather than actually giving them a fish.
Yeah.
Because if I teach you how to fish, how you put things on the cane and very much throw it out and show you the techniques really to do it, you'll be able to do it for a lifetime. But if I just literally give you a fish, that's it, you
Yeah.
eat and then it disappears. And it was very much like that for me in terms of editing. I would um people would send me DMs constantly over the years asking, Igor, do you sell presets? What about your presets? Do you give them out or whatever?
Right.
And I'm always no, 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 no. And it was until probably again the past 3 years or so where I've been doing quite a lot of mentoring sessions
Mhm.
specifically on editing because I've been creating an editing course and seeing the results from photographers using the presets, and again very much using their own take on it and bringing things into play, with the whole structure of, okay, these are the things that I like this about so and so, I like that about so and so, I like this about so and so.
Yeah.
How will I be able to bring that together with this preset? Okay, we'll sit down and work it and do it. And the thing about the way I work, I'm very hot on skin tones. I'm very hot on greens being greens and just
Yeah.
consistency in general, really.
Sure.
So to be able to do that with my presets has been incredible, and to see the results from students and photographers has been incredible, to the point that I said to myself, I have to get this out there. I kind of have to get this out there,
Love that.
but it has to include an educational element of it. I would never drop something like that. And this is not to sort of like poo-poo on the parade of anyone that literally sells presets and
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and just literally drop them without any sort of like educational content within it. But for me personally, um, especially with everything that I've been talking about, it has to have an educational content with it. So the way I worked around it was to create a 40-minute class where I literally walk you through how I would edit with the presets, because it's the presets that I use currently today. And
Mm-hmm.
you look from my work, it is the one thing. So I wanted to literally walk you through it, techniques, how to achieve great skin tones, compositions, start making you think about it, how to um eliminate distractions so you can really see the subject for what it is,
Yeah.
and yeah, just elevate people's work through that, really. So yes, it's been amazing already to see photographers using the presets, and yeah, just changing the way they work, and skin tones has been the one thing that people are really raving about, and the way I sort of like work my way around it, really. So yeah, it has been incredible, really.
Yeah, I mean, when you launched it and I saw it on Instagram, that was what kind of caught my eye, you know? I was like, what? An educational portion? That's huge, you know, because like I'm sure there are a ton of photographers out there. I've seen in Facebook groups and stuff where they buy presets and then it just also doesn't work for them. Um, they feel like they've been wasting their money here and there because
Yeah,
I mean there are a lot of things to pay attention to, right? Also when buying presets, because
yeah,
it's also not going to work for everyone, anyone,
yeah. Because
right?
it's yeah, it's got to start at the beginning. It very much has to do with how you shoot as well. Your
Yes.
type of shooting. Do you shoot for the highlights, or do you shoot for the shadows? Because literally, my way of shooting has changed over the years, but at the same time, that's something that I explained in the class, that um I tend to shoot for the highlights, so underexposed things,
Yeah.
and that way I'm able to retain detail. And then as you edit, you'll be able to literally see things coming to life and everything else. So very much
Yeah.
shoot with the edit in mind, because that's the way really to create, at least for me, in some ways, create art, because that's the end result. I used to very much shoot, wanting to have that gratification at of looking at the viewfinder and seeing almost ready image, if that makes sense, because
Yes, I
yeah.
know.
But the more I've shot, the more I've realized that no, I need to shoot for the edit, really. And yeah, that has really really helped me. And at the same time, the other thing as well is that I'm a Canon shooter, and I love Canon. Probably never changing from Canon for the 13 years, 14 years plus that I've used it. Yeah, 20 years now, because it's still, yeah, 20 years. Whoa.
You're in
Um,
it for life.
yeah, that's it. And but and Canon for me is very much, it very much helps for skin tones. I love the way it works. I love the files. They're beautiful, but not everybody shoots Canon. So
No,
with this
and
presets
I'm
thing, how does it work, really? So
exactly.
yeah, so I had to drop in some Sony files, some Fuji files, and yeah, show people that you can actually edit with that and achieve um good work, and yeah, great results through it, really. So yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that part because that's where I was gonna go next in terms of like when you said, you know, shooting for the highlights or not or whatever. It also depends on the equipment you're using,
Hmm.
which camera, and you have to know your equipment really well, you know.
Exactly.
It just works differently. And I was also a Canon shooter for the longest until I abandoned Canon. I'm sorry. It wasn't an easy decision. It took me like a
I
year to
bet.
decide.
Hmm.
But my husband had already moved to Sony and we just like really thought it through, and it just made sense that we're shooting the same, and I
Yeah.
was open to it. But
How did you
all
find the
good,
transition?
smoother than I thought it would be. But I have to say, to the fact that I was still using the DSLRs with Canon and I moved to
And then you
mirrorless.
moved to mirrorless.
Yes. And mirrorless for me is a game changer. I just can't go back. If I go back to Canon ever, it would have to be a mirrorless because it just has too many pros for me. I love it. I love it. Like, what are you using right now?
I'm still on the SLRs, simply
Okay.
because of that fact.
Yeah.
Um, um, I'm still on the 5D Mark IV,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm definitely gonna get an R5, if not an R6. But I'm leaning towards the R5, simply
Yeah.
because of video. I want to use it more for video,
Mm.
really. Whereas for photography, even it was only last week, I was still searching through MPB, which is sort of like a website here in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
for more 5D Mark IVs, because I love the way they've got a certain capability within them, a certain aesthetic that I absolutely love. and I can't get that through the R6 just straight out of the camera. I find that it's sometimes it can be too sharp, too digital. So I find optimum medium really. And yeah, it's really important to know your tool, to know what you can actually get out of it.
Yeah.
And whilst I love gear, I'd rather see I'd rather much favor the end result,
Result. Yeah.
rather than getting onto a wave that everybody's getting into mirrorless and we have to jump on the on it as well. Which
Totally. I
I
get
see the
you.
positives. I see
I
the
mean,
positives
the
of it.
5D4, the thing is, that's the thing. I was obsessed with this camera, and I just kept telling my husband, like, I don't need to upgrade or anything. I'm good. I'm good. But the years passed, and the camera was just being used up, and it was time to make a decision. But like, really, for me, the huge thing is not the fact that it's a Sony mirrorless. It's just the fact that it's a mirrorless in the sense that I don't have to have the camera up in my face
Hmm.
while shooting,
You
which
can
for
just
me,
shoot
I
from the
realized,
hip, and yeah.
yeah. And it's not necessarily because the angle changes if I'm shooting from the hip or anything. It's because I actually have more connection with the people in front of me,
Hmm.
and they let their guard down more.
Yes,
Do you
yes,
know what I mean?
yes.
So that's
I
actually
completely
the
agree.
huge thing. And I don't know, I'm a very smiley person, and it just makes a huge difference on weddings and stuff. Because if I had the when I used to have the big cannon in front of my face, it's just like they just kind of see that, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now they're more kind of feeling more at ease and chill, and I feel like my image just got that much better.
yeah.
Yes.
Introduces rapport for sure. It
Hmm.
is easier to get into those rooms, and I'm very much like you. I smile all the way through a wedding, really.
Yeah,
And yeah, I find it as well. I don't know. It's everyone's different in terms of their styles and everything else, but
that's true.
something that I'm really really hot on is having conversations with the people around, especially the ones that sort of like closest to the bride and groom.
Mm,
Even if it's like a 2-3 minute conversation, just so they can actually meet you, see
yeah,
that you're normal.
it's true.
He's an all right dude.
Yeah.
And again, it just breaks barriers down. So when the camera goes up, it just means that it's a lot easier to very much you've got that rapport already that you established. So yeah. Um just a tip.
Yeah, no, it's good that you start with that because it makes a huge difference. Like you said, everyone goes about things differently, and that's what I
Yeah.
love. And whenever, like, if I seem to be giving out advice or say anything anywhere, I always say, hey, take what works for you, because
Yeah.
I can never give blanket advice. Like, I want people just to take whatever pieces that could fit them, their personality, their
Yeah.
business,
That's it. That's it. That's
that's
exactly
what it's
it.
about.
I was I was reading an article yesterday, and I still have to look it up properly because I was like, really, really. But reading an article yesterday, and they were saying that Annalie Fitch still shoots with Canon 5D Mark IIs, not even 3 or 4, but twos. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's incredible. I guess it's that thing of knowing what works for you, really,
yeah.
and yeah, knowing what you want as an end result, really. But yeah, I need to check out that that
And
fact.
yeah, amazing. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, some people are just they stick to what they have and that works, and it's all good. So good. All right. One thing I do want to talk a little bit more about, you hinted at it, is skin tones, skin tones. The struggle is real for a lot of people. And the struggle becomes more real when, darker skin tones come to play, or a couple
100%.
like, my husband is white, black, and then a lot of people out there are struggling. What advice do you have for them?
The struggle is real. The struggle is real. It's true for sure.
Yeah,
Um, I would say that yes, it's hard with that one because especially when people approach their work with a specific aesthetic,
yeah,
or let's say they shoot for something that for colors that are not necessarily real or to the eye. So
yeah,
one of the things that I would constantly say is, and it's always happening within my Lightroom catalog or when I'm editing, I'm always toggling the before and after. So the
uh,
raw within the raw and the actual
okay,
edited image. it really, really helps to see things for what they really, really are. Constantly be toggling it as you're changing things, just to make sure that you're actually keeping things as they should be kept. Because
Yeah.
yeah, if you shoot me and my wife, it's exactly the same thing as you and
Hmm.
your husband.
Right.
She's white,
Yeah.
and I'm black, and yeah, we want skin tones to be pleasing really to the eye. And I think as well,
Yeah.
so many times, yeah, and this is definitely true. So many times people are very much afraid of sort of like shooting black couples or Asian couples or darker
Yeah.
skin, because they just haven't done it before.
Hmm.
And many times couples themselves, they will actually hire a black photographer or a same
Yeah.
ethnicity photographer, because
Right.
that brings that sense of assurance that, yeah, you understand me, you understand what's important for me, and you know how to approach this. But what I would say is to just try it out, to just hire models.
Hmm.
If you find it that you're not confident with it, hire models, and just practice, because it's crucial really to know how to edit skin tones well. I find that it's the one thing really
Yeah.
um that really, really helps to bring cohesiveness to your work. Same with the greens, but that's a whole other story. But
That's a
to bring co
different thing. Yeah.
to bring cohesiveness to your work, it's super crucial.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I usually say is you just want to be true to the skin tone that the person has,
Yeah,
because I mean, how often have I seen like black people edited to be some sort of like,
orange.
yeah, orange on that scale, or like, let's say it's a light and airy
Yeah,
editor and they're just super like
yeah,
whitewashed or some
that's it.
sort,
That's
and
it.
that just doesn't work. So that's why I usually just say, you need to make the necessary adjustments also, perhaps by when you're shooting at the location, to think about it,
Yeah,
especially if you have a mixed couple, right?
yeah.
But another thing is, at least I struggle, white balance, keeping that consistency throughout the day.
I hear this
Is
one so many
there
times.
I know everybody has it. That's why I also put myself out there to say I spend time, like I would be editing, look at it the next day, because I'm always looking once more through twice before I send it out, right? And
Yeah,
I just think, what was I thinking? So
exactly.
correct. So let's talk about white
Was I
balance.
drinking when I
It
was
was
editing
like,
this? Because literally,
you
this is
know,
completely different from what I had in my mind.
okay, I tell you, like there's a window in our office, but
Yeah,
still let the clouds come over the sun, and then it's changing the light in the room. I turn on
yeah.
the light up here, which has like an orangey tone. Um, my eyes get tired, whatever. And I personally just like have my white balance on automatic the whole day. I am that lazy. It works for me. Do
But
you
no,
do it?
I completely agree with you. And I was going to say that because so many times I see people literally thrive. It was the one question, one of the big questions they had during the shoot sessions. What do you use for your white balance? And before I even answer that, I'd say try to eliminate as many variables as possible. So with what you're saying, literally I shoot an auto white balance and that's it. That's it. Try to eliminate them really. But for me, I tend to shoot, if it's natural light, I shoot on cloudy, because
Hmm.
again, Canon is incredible for that in terms of skin tones. It's really, really pleasing. It gets that warm, sort of like healthy look, and just straight out of camera, really, in some ways.
Yeah,
Um, just as you see in the images, because obviously it doesn't really affect the raws
sure.
that much, really. But the other one would be if it's tungsten lighting indoors, then I would auto white balance it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just try to keep it the variables as low as possible, really, because the more you introduce into it, the
Hmm.
more change you will have within the editing, really. And yeah, and that will complicate things really for you, or not complicate, but it just makes it harder, really.
It does make it
Um,
harder.
yeah, I've got friends that shoot with Kelvins, and they're able to really change it throughout the day and everything else, and that works
Yeah.
for them. But that wouldn't be me. I just wouldn't be able to do it.
I know.
No,
I'm
no.
always amazed that people can do that. And I'm like, I am so focused on what's happening during the day. Like, I just don't need other factors to think about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I will suffer in post-production. We'll see how it goes. But talking about that, like, I thought the solution for me would be then maybe trying out AI editing in my
Hmm.
process. What are your thoughts about the whole rise in AI editing? Is that something you've tried out, plan to
It's
try
from
out?
the devil.
Yes, it will kill your preset sales.
No,
No, it
no, no,
won't.
no.
Let's
I
talk
completely.
about it. What are your thoughts?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Give me anything that will reduce the amount of time that I have to spend on my desk,
Hmm.
and I'll take it really. So yes. I find it incredible, really. Even at the gym, um, within the men's changing room, we're literally just chatting about AI in general and how it's actually
Yeah.
overtaking so many different industries of tech.
Hmm.
And the other guy was an electrician, and he was talking on how he's starting to use AI within his business. So literally, it is overtaking the whole world, really. But I absolutely love it. The ability of being able to user culling software that will be able to literally cull images for me, and I'm very, very hot on culling. It's my
Yeah.
approach to it is you got to be brutal, and
Oh, yeah.
don't be precious about your images, and you just
Kill your
literally got to be
darlings.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
um and my culling previously, before AI, used to be very much like no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, yes,
Hmm.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 yes, no, no, yes. And now it's very much like yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 no.
Oh,
It just
wow.
speeds up the whole process, really. So
Yeah.
it just means that um yeah, it just reduces time, really. And same goes with editing. um it's incredible on how you are able to ingest so many things into a program, and it starts learning more and more about you and what you like and what you don't like. So yes, I find that I still, it just means that allows me, especially with the editing ones,
Hmm.
uh, I find that it allows me time to really invest into the images,
Yeah.
because I'm still editing the images. I'm still going in and changing certain aspects of it and removing certain things and everything else.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I'm able to really focus on those standout images a lot more.
Mm.
And I can sit down and work on an image for a little while. So to be able to reduce my editing time and allow more space to really hone into my artistry, hone into the things that I'm good at, and provide a better end result for my clients.
Yeah,
Who wouldn't want
totally.
that?
I mean, and that's what counts, right? Like you said, like we are all happy, I would say, to get that grunt work done for us, right? Because that's just kind of like anybody, like, people outsource to people and whatever.
Exactly.
But if we can just have the machine do it, and it's done based on our own editing style, that's what I love about it personally,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and for anyone listening, I've had so many conversations over the years because I probably started using AI so 2.5 years ago now. So
Mm.
for anyone that's sort of like skeptic about it, try it. Just literally try it, because the results will surprise you. Um, so yeah,
Totally.
you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, and it's worth a try. I mean, that's how it started with me. I haven't done too much, but enough to see that it's only getting better as well, right?
Hmm.
And this is definitely, like you said, also saving time. Hey, at this point, most of us, we're becoming parents and stuff. Like, it's not just like the fact that we could spend time on what we're really good at or love, focusing on those images, like you said, but also just getting our time back
Yeah,
spend with our family. Like, the kids grow up so fast. Like, it's
yeah, very
amazing.
much so.
I love it. Yeah. So, like, can you talk? You don't need to go in detail, just to have a quick idea. Like, what does your workflow look like? Your, post-production workflow editing wise? Just a quick outline would be awesome.
Yeah. As soon as I finish a wedding, things go into backups. I've got like 4 backups, 3 physical, 1 online.
Mm,
And from then I would very much create a preview of 100 or so images. I'm very hot on creating a preview that very much shows the whole day, so the couple actually has a good idea of what the end images are going to look like, and that just allows you to very quickly post on Instagram as well,
yeah.
um a good storyline of that wedding that you literally just captured 24 hours ago or so. So yeah, that's a massive one. Then eventually when I actually start editing the images, um dropping on AI for culling, dropping on AI for editing, and just go through the whole process of it. Then I'll go through the process of editing it in Lightroom. Then I would apply something else with an alien skin just to sharpen it and add grain, really, because I
Yeah.
find that Lightroom is not that amazing at that, really. So
Hmm.
yes, and then send it off, send it off,
Love
and
it.
happy days.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And like, do you have like one main preset? Because I know you're a destination wedding photographer, which is telling me you are in different locations with different light, different vibe. And I mean, for me, what ended up happening with me is I have variations of my presets where I'm just like, oh, if I'm in Madeira, this is my Madeira, whatever. Not that I'm there often, people. Okay. But let's take Corsica. I'm in Corsica often. But like, how does it work with you? Are you just taking on your preset and
Yeah.
adjusting accordingly, or you don't have variations saved?
Yeah, again, remove the variables as much as possible. I
Mm,
used to edit like that with several presets, but over the years, probably again, the past probably 4 or 5 years, um, just to keep consistency really.
yeah.
And that's something that I'm really, really proud of, the presets. They're called foundation presets, the ones I'm currently selling. They are
Hmm.
exactly as I said, the ones that I'm currently using, and you only get two. That's it. Color
Black and
and black and
white.
white. That's
Hmm.
it.
I love
Um,
it.
because that's how I achieve my consistency, really. Yes, light will look different for a wedding in the Caribbeans as you're shooting in Morocco, the US, or UK, wherever it may be, really. But something I'm really proud of the preset is it's able to really achieve that consistency within it, really, especially for skin tones, because again, skin tones are the unifying element, really. If you're able to get skin tones right, you have the battle won. You really,
Okay.
really do.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that's how you, sorry to interrupt. So you focused on getting that right, and that way everything else falls into place.
yes, yes, very much so. And the other one is greens. Greens is crucial. The people don't pay attention to the greens as much as they should, really. And I know that the industry goes into trends and everything else,
Yeah.
whether you have desaturated greens or you had like really neon greens, depending
Hmm.
on your style, really. But I find that if you're able, whatever your style is, if you're able to find a consistency within your greens and your blues, because
Mm.
green is everywhere, really. And within nature. And ah, I said this on another podcast the other day, and someone dropped a comment very much on the lines of green is is the one color that is sort of like in the middle of the color spectrum of the eye. So our eyes constantly gravitate towards it the first, which I found like mind blowing, especially
Yeah.
when I'm so hot on the greens, really, and it sort
Yeah.
of like made sense, really. But yeah, um, greens, it's really important to have that consistency within it, and blues as well. But me personally, I don't focus so much on the blues as much as
Me
I should, really.
neither.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
holding my hands up.
No, but I did find that my eyes catch always the greens, but I didn't know
Mhm.
there was a science behind it to make sense that there is.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, and I really need to look into it more because
Please do.
when Alex, props to Alex, when Alex actually said that, I was like, wow, that is so true. So I really need to look into it more.
Yeah, yeah. So like you spent all this time just getting that preset right that would just work all over,
Yes,
which means
it's
it's an
yeah,
amazing preset, people.
yeah. it has its variations over the years. Source one, I call it source because literally it's pretty much like cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Source one, source two, source three, source
Yes,
five, and then
I love it.
eventually you very much hone in into the things that that very much work for you, really. So yeah, but I still keep them. I keep all the variations because eventually I would love to do sort of like a show and tell of presets over the years.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Listen.
dun.
I love
They're all
that.
changing, really.
Oh, so good, so good. Yeah. So in that sense, like, is there more you want to say about your foundations presets? Because like for me, I think then people don't really have to think long and hard about it, regardless of where they are in this world, if it's gonna work for them in any light or situation. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yes. The one thing that I'm super super proud of it is it's the educational element of it.
Yeah.
Um, even if you sort of like, I'm not sure about the presets, buy it just simply for the educational value of it, because you'll find things there that you perhaps have not thought about in terms of editing and how to just elevate your images.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to literally go through Thrive and go through the editing sessions. So we do the shoot sessions and then have a sort of like an hour editing session. I'll squeeze as much time as possible for them, really. And
Mhm.
people's minds were just sort of like, oh, you can do this and you can do that. Yeah, again, especially if you're very hot on skin tones, there's way to really elevate them without saying a lot. So yeah, I'll keep it
Yeah,
within
don't give
that.
away too much. I'm
um,
super curious myself here. That's awesome. Yeah, but
but the
like,
other thing is
mhm.
as well is that I've tried to keep it very accessible. So it's literally £99 because yeah,
Wow,
um, it
that's
just
amazing.
really be able to accessible to anyone that wants to buy it. There's no excuse really. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's it.
mean, a lot of presets I see out there are like $79 or something, which seems to be standard a lot of places. So
Hmm.
for just a little bit more, you get all that education. That's huge. Igor, you're doing great things for our industry. Yeah. Yeah. So what okay, going into the wedding season for us
Hmm.
all in this side of the hemisphere. I don't want to forget our Australian, New Zealand friends and everyone else listening on the podcast. Um what advice do you have? Okay, yes, get the presets, people, and elevate your work, but otherwise, like, do you have anything for our 2023 wedding season that you want to, share, give some advice to wedding photographers to take things to the next level?
Yeah, yeah. I find that one of the things that I've been doing a lot, especially after the pandemic or even throughout the pandemic, is to very much diversify my business as much as possible, really. So I can
Mm,
have space to really hone into my work and really hone into my work into differentiating it to everybody else in the industry, especially when you've been in the industry for such a long time as I have.
yeah.
You find that it's very easy for your work to look the same year after year after year, without
Right.
evolving forward, really.
Right.
So something for me for 2023 is very much about just experimenting and showing more those experimentations without feeling like, oh, I'm not sure about this. Should I really show this? Should I not? Because I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist at heart, and
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to break out of that. But over the past year or so, I've been very much been on a journey of breaking out of that, really, and
Mm-hmm.
just becoming a bit more careless in terms of like what I show
Yeah.
for the sake of inspiring others, for the sake of evolving my work, really. I find that it's very important to push things forward, even though it can be uncomfortable, really. So yeah,
I like that.
allowing space for personal projects, that's a massive one. And showing more of my Polaroid work, which I haven't really been doing much of that, of showing it, really. So yeah, personal projects and showing more of my Polaroid work within weddings. It's one of the things that I'm really really pushing for 2023.
Oh, that's so good. And also, I know you have a podcast with Sam Ducker. Feel free to
Yes.
share what that podcast is about.
Yes, it's called Another Idea.
Yeah.
And our tagline is very much we are podcast for creatives and entrepreneurs that want to level up their business. And yeah, our audience is mainly wedding photographers, yes, but from the get-go, we wanted to very much diversify that. Really, we wanted to look for inspirations outside of our own industry, and very much try to learn as much as possible. So we are very much on our 50th episode for a podcast
Already.
that, yeah, for a podcast that's barely a year old. I think we're going to be a year old next month, May. Yeah.
A lot,
And
especially
yeah,
since like you guys are like meeting in person, right? And
yes,
recording.
yeah. We're recording in person. That's the one thing that we really wanted to do from the beginning. If you're on the
Mm,
podcast, you come in person, really, because there's that rapport that you get by
it's true.
seeing people in the eye and everything else. And me and Sam, we've got this good chemistry together. We bat we bat the ball to each other,
Yeah,
and there's a
totally.
lot of banter, and that happens really within the room because we are there in person. Really, I find that that's crucial. But yeah, some of the guests that we've had have been knife makers. That was one episode that very much blew our minds in the sense of how you can get inspiration from the outside of your industry, really.
Hmm.
And yeah, the list is long, really, but it's an incredible podcast. So if you haven't heard of it, another idea, check it out. We are climbing up the charts, which is incredible to see, really. So
I'm
yeah.
amazed. Yeah, I mean, barely a year old and 50 episodes and all those guests and like, all those, yeah, exposure, downloads. It's amazing because I remember you guys, there was a post celebrating when you hit a milestone, but forgive me, I can't remember which milestone it
Yeah,
was.
I don't
I
know
just
which
remember
one
at
it
that
is.
point thinking it was, I just remember thinking that's amazing. You guys are doing
Yeah.
amazing. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing how year two is gonna go for you guys.
Yes, very much so. It is, don't get me wrong, it is hard
Mhm.
work. It is hard
For
work,
sure.
you know.
I'm
But
here alone in my office doing it virtually, so it's less work than meeting in person doing all that. So major props to you. It's
thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. But yeah, it definitely is worth it. So if you're out there thinking of creating a podcast, go for it. Go for it. Just for the networking element of it, the
Yeah,
amount of the networking and the educational element of it, the amount of stuff that you will learn from it is incredible.
true.
And the amount of people that you'll meet because of it, again, is incredible. So yeah, win-win.
Totally. So when people want to get your presets, foundation presets, can you tell us exactly where they can find it, find you, and all the contacts that you want to just share with the listeners?
Yes, you can go to my website, igordemba.com, and you'll find on the for photographers column, you'll find the foundation presets there. On Instagram as well, Igor Demba, and you'll find the presets there very, very easily. And for your audience as well, I would love to give 10 off. So we include a code for, probably you can include it in the show notes,
Will
and
do.
I'll call it Ida 10.
Yes, I love it.
Call
Oh,
it
that
Ida
is
10.
generous. Like it's already well priced.
Yeah.
I am so happy for everyone. Please go ahead and do it. And yeah, I wish you all the success in selling the presets and all that you have going on for you. And thank you for bringing it to us and even sharing what all you shared today, because I learned a lot. And like you said, having this podcast teaches me a lot, and I get to have amazing conversations, which is
Yes, indeed. Yes,
brightens
indeed.
up my
No.
day. Love it. Thank you,
Seriously.
Igor.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It really has been a pleasure and loving what you're doing. So keep it going.
Thank you so much.